Hello, everyone. This is Chala Dinkoy, CEO and founder of The Repositioning Expert, coming to you live with another Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. Let me take a sip. Okay, so today we are talking about something very hot and topical in the news. The Blackberry movie's out. If for those of you who are my age who remember that keyboard phone that had its own keyboard and it actually clicked when you touched on the keyboard, and then of course iPhone came and wiped it all out. And now all of us have iPhone. Most of us have an iPhone, but there was a movie out, and this weekend, my little guy, my 14-year-old, took me as a celebration for my Mother's Day. And of course, he picked the movie. I paid for the movie, but it was his present to me. So that was good. I was grateful because he said, I'm doing this twice in a row because last week we saw Air, the Nike Air movie. And so he's against going 2 weekends in a row. So his concession was my Mother's Day gift. It's the first time he's taken me somewhere for, this year is he's taking me all sorts of places. So he's growing up, everyone. I'm very, very happy. But, on the heels of that, there were so many good pitch lessons in this movie that I could not pass it up. And I thought I'd share some of them with you. And some of them, this was a comedy. It was a very dark comedy. It was tongue in cheek. And we all know what happened at the end. You walk into a movie, you know exactly what's going to happen at the end. But the great Canadian success story and failure story is Blackberry. And at one point, they owned half the almost, I think it was 45% of the cell phone market. And now it's zero. And there was a lot of high stakes pitching. So it started off with the two, sort of geeky founders who were all techie and had nothing to do with the world of sales, positioning, marketing, PR, none of that. They actually were trying to pitch it to a company where the pitch failed miserably. And, they happened to be pitching to a marketing guy, to a marketing and sales guy, and he was not technical at all. So the two tech guys, Mike Lazaridis and Doug Freakin, they were the co-founders. And so the real brain behind it is this Mike guy, and they kept trying to say this is a cell phone plus email machine, and the big feature for them was this, this free. What do they call it? It's based on a free wireless service signal across North America. So this was a huge big thing. If you were to tell me in a room at that year, I wouldn't even know what that meant. And obviously, so the pitching lesson there is they did not prepare for their audience. They continue to speak from their world in their language. In fact, there's a funny scene where the one of the owners makes a Star Wars reference. It's like because this Wi-Fi internet signal is everywhere. They said it's like Star Wars, in the Star Wars, and the guy they were pitching to. Not only could they not get his attention, but he didn't really understand what the big deal was. So it was a huge fail, and they were on a trajectory to be a complete failure and mystery, and nobody would have heard of them until the guy they were pitching to, the marketing guy, he actually lost his job for being too, ballsy and stealing someone else's thunder and presentation. So then he remembered them, and then he looked them up and kind of saved them. So the rest of the movie, there's a second part where and that guy, his name was Jim Balzilli, and he became the CEO and became very rich. And so he's selling it to the actual people who matter, which is the cell carrier in the US, huge cell carrier. And I don't know, they didn't say who it was. I don't know if it was AT&T, Verizon, I don't know. But the way that he repositioned it was phenomenal. And so this is a huge lesson from this movie is he started off by talking in their world, saying you sell minutes. Imagine if you can sell more minutes. And the way that they would sell more minutes would be to sell minutes of data instead of just sell minutes. So the lesson is, the speak to the pain. I always say speak to the pain. What's the pain? Well, the cell phone companies are tapped out in terms of cell phone minutes with the amount of cell phones and the amount of cell usage. But they opened up, this new Blackberry opened up a whole new revenue stream of being able to sell data minutes. So that's the pain. And so he went straight for the jugular. He positioned the pitch directly, and that they were like, their eyes were thrown open, and then the success trajectory started rising. And the third and last lesson of the pitches in the movie was the last one. Oh my gosh. So this is where in the movie, Steve Jobs actually launches the first iPhone. And it's the first phone of its kind where, the screen actually has the screen, but the keyboards are popping up. And so what happened was, the founder, the geek, Mike, he actually went into the same whatever, whether it was AT&T or Verizon, and they were about to walk. They were expecting the new design and innovation, and he came up with some sort of just a tweak on what they already had. And he was told, this is not good enough. Apple's come out. What are you going to do with it? So here's the lesson: is he pivoted in the moment, and he, in his mind, created and sold a concept. And the concept was to have the clicking sound of the Blackberry buttons, but appearing on a iPhone ripoff kind of like flat screen, but that the clicking menu would come up, or the keyboard would come up. So it was like a hybrid he thought of in his mind after seeing the Apple presentation. But my lesson there is, you definitely have to be pivoting in the moment. You definitely have to be pivoting to what market conditions are, what other innovations you're going up against. I mean, what I think one of the biggest business lessons for BlackBerry is they were blindsided. They did not take Apple seriously, and you could see in the movie when they're asking anybody and everybody who matters in the management team, they're like, yeah, okay, whatever, it's just a trend. But it wasn't, right? It wiped them out, and it was such a huge innovation. They never came back from it. And what ended up happening is, in order to compete, they their policy, the BlackBerry policy, was never undercut your quality and never go to China. And they ended up going to China, so they had a whole bunch of phones that weren't working, on top of which it wasn't a big enough innovation to cut through the army and the wall of this destructive force of the iPhone. And of course, they became history. I have one of their stocks. They're still considered a successful company within the realm of internet security, but really, it's the phone heydays are over. They are part of history. So I want you to learn from those lessons. Of course, I'm a pitch coach, so I can't stop looking at life and even movies from that lens. But this was such a good lesson in what to do and what not to do in your pitches. So this one was a short one. Let me take another sip. Hopefully it will remind you and jog your memory when you're doing your pitch on the things to do and not to do. And hopefully you will never be in that situation where BlackBerry did not know how to gauge, assess, time their competitive entry into the market and lose their edge. All right. Even innovators die. So that's all for this week. I hope to see you next week, everyone. Take care.